Tatsuki Fujimoto for a time wasn't really that good. For what started off as a man trying to elevate himself on the web, evolved into a cultural phenomena we all know and love today. But many people don't seem to realize just how far Chainsaw Man's creation goes. Some believe that it was conceived during Fire Punch's publication, but it goes way back. It's actually been in the works ever since 2011. Me and my laptop had the unfortunate opportunity to surf the web to unravel all of Tatsuki Fujimoto's secrets. And as a result, I am going insane. I've seen bizarre likes of which you could never comprehend, and my shiny new laptop, which I got on my birthday just a few weeks ago, has 7 trillion viruses! However, there's a silver lining. This video. I've discovered some crazy shit about this man, like how one day he got up and said, "Man, fuck story conventions, am I right? Who needs them anyway?" And decided to create his own tropes for his own manga. What? And how this is casually the first version of Makima. This is a long video, so stick around, because we're gonna look over all of that, his evolution, art and storytelling, and how everything culminated into Tatsuki Fujimoto's magnum opus, Chainsaw Man. In this post-apocalyptic blizzard, we follow a little blonde girl trying to find something, or someone. On her journey, she finds a monstrous figure that helps her. They travel the winter wasteland in the search of this thing. The world is filled with bizarre elements, death at every corner, loss of sanity and vast, almost blinding winter. You might think this is Fire Punch, but it's actually Tetelepo-san! Remember how I said this man made up his own tropes? Ooh boy, I wish I was joking about that. Tetelepo-san was Tatsuki Fujimoto's debut manga in 2011. Unless you ask him yourself, then he will say, Niwa Torigaita was his first work. We will get to that. The main character, this blonde girl, is searching for someone called Tetelepo-san. She comes across a monster that helps her at first. He takes her to a titan and then a sea serpent for assistance, and eventually they stumble upon some clues. But for some reason, things start to get weird. The monster starts to act abnormally. Every single time she mentions this name, Tetelepo-san, he feels like he's slowly dying inside. As their search continues, after asking the residents of this maddened world, the monster reaches its breaking point. It chases her into a single, desolate tower where she finds what she was looking for. A masked figure with a syringe sword? And he ends the world? But it's revealed that it was all in the head? And that's it? The story just ends? Some story elements here came out of left field, especially the juiced up syringe man and the ending. It's a 5-chapter one-shot. Many mangaka could have done a lot of things with that time, but Tatsuki Fujimoto dedicated way too much screen time to pointless filler and repeated jokes that freeze the plot in its place. Hehe, get it? Blizzard? Froze? The parts in which we get subtle storytelling, like the monster's reaction to Tetelepo-san, the world seemingly falling apart, the midpoint reveal of the girl's physique, were done perfectly and speaks volumes of what type of writer he will become later. Because all of this was used as an analogy to an illness, a coma. The monster was the cells that were killing her, and Tetelepo-san was the cure. This writing is a far cry to what Tatsuki Fujimoto is capable of. Oh, God! But it speaks volumes on what type of writer he will become later. But before that, the art. The art here is kinda bad, man. Like, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, it's straight ass.
Know your fucking place, trash!
That might be too harsh. It is his first manga after all. But there's so much wrong with this. There is no detail to the backgrounds to speak of. It's just pitch white that burns my retinas. As for what we see in the foreground, the designs don't fare much better. They are wonky and have little to no shading, dynamicness, or distinguishing characteristics, which may partly be the result of the line work, which looks like it was done by a chicken assaulting a whiteboard.
This is a very smooth transition into our next topic.
For now though, it's time for more bizarre shit. Niwa 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 Niwatori Gaita, also known as two chickens in a courtyard for those who don't want to suffer the 30% chance of a stroke, is batshit insane, and not in a good way. Niwa 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 Niwatori Gaita takes place in 2019 in a post-apocalyptic world where almost all humans were hunted down by aliens. They have no right to live and are looked at as animals to eat. But two humans manage to hide. In a high school courtyard. How, you may ask? By disguising themselves as chickens, of course. Pfft, obviously. Duh, how else? I should be reading Blue Lock right now. What am I doing? The story follows these two aliens who know the existence of these humans. At times, they would bring food. But one day, shit hits the fan. The humans are discovered, and as this alien tries to save them, he is brutally murdered. Whilst our main characters are about to suffer the same fate, it's revealed that the other chicken was an alien in disguise this whole time! He was living with the human girl undercover for months after killing her family and bonking her on the head, which I guess made her forget that he was an alien? And as they are cornered, he stays behind and allows her to escape into the mountains, where a highly advanced alien race can't track her down. What the actual fuck? I don't think I need to explain to you the amount of bullshit in this story. So, the Skullfuck story aside, the art gets a massive glow up. Despite it still being very rough, it is a huge improvement in many areas. It has lots more detail when it comes to the individual character designs. Aliens actually look like aliens and not a bunch of lines tangled up like a furball. For better or for worse, this one reminds me a lot of Abalrai and Chainsaw Man, and I love it. Despite it still having a long way to go, it is a far cry to the chicken whiteboard incident. The anatomy and limb proportions are consistent, for the most part anyway. And the backgrounds kinda follow a similar story. Depictions of nature and architecture overall can go from this to absolutely nothing. Despite us getting to see what he is capable of, Tatsuki Fujimoto hasn't started to develop his trademark character art style just yet. It still looks like cheap Studio Teen animation, but it's getting there. It shows glimmers of what he is capable of. Fun fact, apparently Tatsuki Fujimoto didn't actually storyboard any of this. He just started inking for 3 months, which, to give you a perspective, is like riding your bike on a zipline. I guess this kinda explains why his art sucks, I guess. Please believe me, I have some good to say as well. It is a normal day in class. You're just chilling there, you're listening, whatever. You have a minor boner for your teacher, but that's whatever. All of a sudden, your teacher's former classmate comes up, puts her at gunpoint, and tells her, "Have sex with me, or I'll shoot you." What do you do? Obviously, first you talk no jutsu the guy, and then you stop the bullet. Yeah, makes sense, right? How was he able to do this? Because of his massive boner, I mean respect for his teacher, of course. What the fuck? Love is Blind doesn't fare much better with a high school president trying to confess his love to his crush. As he tries, first he is stopped by his teacher, then he mistakes rainy weather for sunny. He seems normal, he's a young kid, he's confessing his love, he's nervous, yeah, that's natural. Then aliens come to threaten the destruction of Earth. How did we go from mistaking weather to aliens? But his confession was so heartwarming for them, that the Earth is saved and nobody is robbed. I can't even lie, this was hilarious when I first read it. It was so good. This is around the point where Tatsuki Fujimoto developed his bizarre and expectation-shattering narrative style, whilst also actually incorporating the comedy into the plot. Both of these series look pretty good with actually insane shot composition. Sometimes the art goes from 7 to 11 instantly. Although this asteroid looks sus though. Tatsuki Fujimoto in both of these series uses thick but smooth line work with many lines to convey detail and shading. This is around the point where he starts experimenting with cross-hatching, gray tones, and deep dark shading, which actually makes his manga safe to read without sunglasses! Yay! Finally! I don't need NASA-grade sun observation decks to read manga. Wow! The backgrounds for both of these series are pretty good. They have a lot of detail with appropriate perspective and shading, with the quality of it being consistent throughout the one-shot. The faces as well don't look like cheap claymation, and despite it still having the classic Big Eyes anime style, it's slowly starting to resemble Tatsuki Fujimoto's modern art style. Next up on our list is Shikaku, but this one shot is boring with little to no artistic improvements, so we're just gonna skip this. Oh, wait a second. Why does she look like Makima? No, no, no! Ningyo Rhapsody, or Siren Rhapsody, is by far Tatsuki Fujimoto's most beautifully illustrated manga yet. It's so different from his other works. It's magical. It takes itself seriously and greatly develops this world, which is scarred by past conflicts, now embodying prejudice and aggression. It explores a mental state of two beings trying to overcome not only the environment around them, but also their survival instincts. It is a beautiful love story between a boy and a girl. But did I mention how this series has high schooler mermaids that turn into sharks? And how this boy wants to bang one? Just like his father? Every day he would swim at the bottom of the sea to play a piano, which is the last remnant of his mother's memory. He lost her at an early age, and the only thing he can recall now is the sweet yet somber notes she would play. Mermaids would often attend to his plays, since he is the only one who can use it. Don't ask me how a fucking piano works underwater, okay? You're asking the wrong questions. You should be asking if Tatsuki Fujimoto is sane or not. The differences here is vast, not only in storytelling, which is very heartwarming once you get over the fish fucking, with a beautiful world that is brimming with history and has some of the best pacing I've ever seen. But also, the art is gorgeous. Long gone are the days of shitty, messy, and simple backgrounds. Now, Tatsuki Fujimoto displays these characters in a realistic 3D environment with great detail present in every corner. Greater implementation on gray and dark shading really sells the detail and depth of these panels. It's just fantastic. Not to mention the line work. It is the embodiment of simple yet effective change. The thickness of these lines now fluctuate, which not only allows him to actually draw out distinguishing characters, but also make them feel far more dynamic. To give you a perspective, this is Tatsuki Fujimoto's art in 2011, and this is him now. The best way to improve by far is to just draw manga, like constantly. Hell, even I went through the same thing. I started off trash, absolutely terrible, but then, after one chapter, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I could see the improvement in every page, every panel, until my magnum opus came up. This panel right here has been 3 years in the making, the pinnacle of my art. After this, there was a massive tumble downwards. I could never replicate this quality. Let this be a lesson. If an ugly, talentless guy like me can draw this, you can do it in half the time. Okay, so, script check, all that check, pacing check. Aha! Motivational speech, check. Yoge no Nayuta the Prophecy. You know how I said the previous one-shot was the best so far? Yeah, never mind, this one's the best. Out of all of Tatsuki Fujimoto's one-shots, this feels the most like Chainsaw Man. The story is about a demon girl who's prophesied to end the world. As her older brother struggles to keep the lights on, he also struggles to keep her in check. In this world, a long-standing feud between the magicians and ordinary people exists. So when the prophecy was spread to the public after Nayuta's birth, she always had people hating her. As the story continues, she becomes more and more chaotic. First it started with her eating wild animals, then butchering livestock en masse. But I can't even lie, for some reason, this is the most hilarious panel I've seen so far. Whoa, big swords. As you could probably tell, the art here greatly resembles Chainsaw Man, especially the way eyes are drawn. Speaking of eyes, those eyes. Get away from me! Previously, the art style was rather flat. The panels that had three-dimensional space was few and far between and started appearing from Siren Rhapsody. Even here, Tatsuki Fujimoto just dabbles in it. But I'll be damned, this is amazing. The complexity in these backgrounds is no joke. Let me put this into perspective again. This is what Tatsuki Fujimoto started with, and this is him now. The glow up, bro. Although, there is one big flaw I see, and that is the character designs. It takes place in a world with magicians, big-ass swords, and demon people, yet most of these characters look so bland. Aside from Nayuta, everyone looks the same. I've literally seen this black-haired male boyfriend or brother character in Tatsuki Fujimoto stories 8 times now. I'm losing my mind. Oh, is it just me or does Nayuta look like reborn? Probably already caught on to this, but it really fascinates me how Tatsuki Fujimoto uses very specific story elements almost universally across all of his stories. Rather as the character designs that will appear later, prototype versions, or full story structures. Tatsuki Fujimoto frequently uses the same structure over and over in his storytelling, a male-female dynamic. Every single story of his has a dynamic between 2 prominent male and female characters, and is almost always split up into 3 versions. A romantic dynamic, siblings, or acquaintances. Tetelepo-san had the monster and the girl, Chicken Manga had the alien the girl, Love is Blind and Bullet Boy had the romance, and this pattern goes all the way up and beyond the Chainsaw Man. It's very interesting that this pattern is so consistent in his storytelling, whilst he is the same person who roleplayed as his fictional fantasy IRL younger sister on Twitter. How can this man write so well? Every single time I see a familiar character in these one-shots, especially after reading Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch, and seeing them appear almost before they're supposed to, is such a bizarre and strange feeling. It's like you know these characters, but they aren't Makima, they aren't Rize, Rod Boy, they're totally separate people. And this sense of familiarity, yet the distance, is so mind-blowing. "2016. Yeah! 2016 marks the year when Tatsuki Fujimoto serialized his first ever manga. This is the year when Fire Punch started, the single most bizarre, mind-numbingly absurd series I've ever read in my life, and to think that it's getting an anime adaptation by MAPPA in the future is even more insane. The amount of memes generated by this single manga, hell, this single panel, is insane. The insanity just tops itself. The story is too long, so a quick description should be fine. Fire, 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 incest action, witch is no witch, actual superhumans, super tree humans, the shark devil from Chainsaw Man, edge and depression, kill me where I stand right now. I think I've described Fire Punch the best I possibly could. Now though, the art. The art style is peak Tatsuki Fujimoto. It has some of the most consistently well-defined art styles I've seen in any of his works. The panels are dynamic with the foreground and background fitting perfectly, creating many of these 3-dimensional panels that actually have space to them. The detail is also significantly elevated, from displaying the blistering flames of agony to individual, meticulously drawn line works for the background with calculated detail, and at times, this detail is way too much. The use of shading as well, just oh my god, it goes to a different level, man. Tatsuki Fujimoto utilizes deep dark shading accompanied by either cross-hatching and or gray tones, and as a result, you have these almost photorealistic panels. And I'll be damned, I have the same panel as my phone wallpaper. Yeah! The character designs as well, oh my god man, the glow up, the drip. Let me remind you again, this is drawn by the same person who wanted to levitate on YouTube. Let me cut the hype down a bit, because there is one notable change that occurred in Fire Punch, and that is the pattern of design. In Tatsuki Fujimoto's previous works, he was still developing his art style, finding his place in what he actually wanted to draw. So as a result, nothing had consistency, like ever. But here, the same face syndrome comes up. You've probably seen this a lot, from quality like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to trash like girlfriend. It covers a wide spectrum of creation. Despite how good characters may look, if the faces are the same, it just feels hollow. The problem here isn't nearly as prominent in Fire Punch, but the way Tatsuki Fujimoto draws the lower half of the face at times is nearly identical to some characters. But this really isn't a problem. If Fire Punch really gives you something to complain about, aside from it giving you depression, then you actually have problems. During Fire Punch's publication, Tatsuki Fujimoto wrote one more one-shot. When I woke up, I had become a girl. Disease? Yeah. Great. Art-wise, there really isn't anything notable. It's standard, not on the same level as Naruto or Fire Punch, so we're gonna skip this. Also, fun fact, during Fire Punch's publication, Tatsuki Fujimoto came up with the idea of Chainsaw Man, which is pretty cool actually. 2018, the same year Chainsaw Man started, the culmination of all of Tatsuki Fujimoto's works over the last 6 years, all culminating into this single manga. But before that, he made one more one-shot, Little Sister's Elder Sister. The story follows two sisters who were really close with each other. They basically lived exact same lives. But one day, the younger sister bested the elder one at art. One day, the younger sister draws her older sister nude. And then this is hanged at the entrance of the art high school, where both of them go. Yeah, the cringe. I feel the cringe. Some more cringe later, they ultimately reconcile, as the elder sister draws herself naked, and then hangs it at the exact same spot. What the fuck? As you could probably tell, the art style here is very, very similar to Chainsaw Man. Nearly identical in fact. The backgrounds and character designs here have that very same feel of chaotic detail and also refinement. The backgrounds also, without being the center of attention, have quite a bit of detail. And of course, the greatest similarity, the eyes. The way Tatsuki Fujimoto draws eyes here is basically identical. Hell, there is a character in this one-shot that is basically Rize, and I'm so happy to see her back, man. It's been too long. And finally, we've come to Tatsuki Fujimoto's magnum opus, the culmination climax produced by his various other mangas, Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man, more than any other manga, movie, TV show, or everyday tool, is inspired by, well, Tatsuki Fujimoto, and some Samabara here and there. So many ideas that appeared in his other works make a prominent statement here, rather that be the character designs like Rize, Nayuta as the Spike Guy as Shark Dude, the persistent yet ever-present story dynamic between the male-female character, or the absurdity of his stories. Everything he has learned, tried and experienced the last 7 years appears here. It really is the culmination of all of his works, but just better. It contains various story tropes and characters mastered by Fujimoto. Couple that with the artistic detail of Fire Punch, and you have a masterpiece like Chainsaw Man, one of the best mangas to ever grace the pages of Shonen Jump. Who would have thought that this dude right here would eventually move the hearts of millions, make them cry, loathe, and laugh with so many of these characters? It truly is his magnum opus. A magnum opus which would later go on to inspire many top-notch manga. There are plenty of amazing stories out there, but not all of them have inspired the Spy X Family, Hell's Paradise, and by extension, Dandadan, whilst revitalizing an entire genre of storytelling. Not only is Chainsaw Man unique in its story and creation, but also in its effect on others. And this just brings us back to my first ever statement. Tatsuki Fujimoto for a time wasn't really that good. Thanks for watching.